Okay, so now we're going to do section 10.4. Now 10.4 has to do with a hyperbola. So the hyperbola is another conic section. So we've got circles, that's a conic section. We've got ellipses, that's a conic section. And we've got hyperbolas, that's a conic section. And again, the formulas for the conic section that is a hyperbola are given here. Okay, and you don't have to memorize these because, well, you're just doing homework, right? So you've got this. So when you're dealing with hyperbolas, you need to have this in front of you. Okay, so if this is called the transverse axis. If the transverse axis, the one that cuts the hyperbola, is parallel to the x-axis, it looks like this. Now A and B, A can be bigger than B and less than B. It doesn't matter. It is not an ellipse. If the transverse axis is parallel to the y-axis, then it'll look like this. So it will always be, if it's y, if the y positive, then it looks like this one. If the x positive, it looks like this one. And A always goes under that first term that's positive. Now you'll notice there's a little box right here because here's the center. Go forward A, back A. Go up B, down B, up B. So you get this little box. Right. Okay. So, and the focal points are here and here. Okay, so find the center, transverse axis, vertices, foci, and asymptotes, and then graph it. All right, so first of all, it's not y minus or x minus, so the center is the origin. Okay, A is 6, B is 7. It wants the foci, so C is I don't know. So now you get your formula out. It's a different formula, and it's B squared equals C squared minus A squared. So B squared equals C squared minus A squared, and so B in this case is 49, and we don't know what C squared is, and we do know that A squared is 36. So we do 49 plus 36, that equals 85. And so C squared equals 85. Okay, so C is the square root of 85. Okay, all right. Okay, so now we're going to graph it. All right, so we know it hits the y-axis at 6 and negative 6. We know that the focal point is square root of 85. Now, the square root of 85 is roughly 9. A little bit less, a little bit more than 9, right? And so that's 0 square root of 85. That, and down here, 0 square root of 85. And we know that B is 7. So we're going to go 7 this way, 7 that way, 7 that way, and down. We'll make a box. And then the asymptotes go through here like so. And then our graph looks like that. Okay, so what's the equation of the asymptote? Well, let's talk about what the slope is. So it's going up 6 and over 7. And this one's going down 6 and over 7. All right, now let's do this one. Alright, so find the equation for the hyperbola, describe, graph the equation. So we'll skip graphing the equation for now and we'll just worry about, well, we'll do it probably. Alright, so first of all, I always graph it first. So 0, 0 is the center and the focus is at 0, 4, which is right there. And so the other focus will be there. And then the vertex is at 0, 1. There we go. Okay, so we know that C equals 4. We know that A equals 1. We know that B equals, we don't know. So we know, but we do know that B squared equals C squared minus A squared. B squared equals C squared minus A squared. So B squared equals C squared. That's 16 minus 1. So B squared is 15. So B is the square root of 15. So square root of 15 is what roughly almost 4, right? And so, and then your asymptotes, and then your graph's going to look like that. Really spread out. So what's your function going to be? Well, your function is going to be y squared over 1 minus x squared over 15 equals 1. There we go. Now we're going to write an equation for this. All right, so we know 1, 2, 3. So we know A is 3. We know that the slope of the hyperbola R is 2 over 1, right? So it's going, and we know this is going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, I can't count. 2, 4, 6, 8. No, wait. Is it going in ones? I apologize. I don't know what this is. I had to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, this is going in twos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's going in twos. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5. Sorry. And then this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now the slope should be 10 over 2, 10 over 5, which is 2, so that checks out. We don't need to know what C is to write the equation, so we're good. The transverse axis is the x-axis, so it's going to be x squared over 25 minus y squared over 100 equals 1. So the only way to get good at this is to practice it. All right. This one probably is the hardest one. Okay, write an equation for the hyperbola. All right, so first of all, we know that the vertices are at 0, negative 6, and 0, 6, which means the center is at the origin. All right, so if you just draw it, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the center is right there at the origin. The transverse axis is clearly the y-axis. So we know that A is 6. Now we know that it's going to go up 6 and over a certain amount, but we don't know what B is. But we know that the slope goes through the corners of this, right? So that means that 3 equals A, which is 6 over B. So simply solve for B. 3B equals 6, so B equals 2. Okay, and we're almost done. All right, so here we go. So the transverse axis is going to be y squared over 36 minus x squared over 4 equals 1. All right, next. Center is 7, negative 1. Crap, I don't like that. Focus is 10, negative 1. Vertex is 9, negative 1. And we've got to find the equation. So the easiest thing is to graph it. So we know the center is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, negative 1. So that's the center. The focus is at 10, negative 1. So that's 7, 8, 9, 10. That's what the focus is at 10, negative 1. And this point right here is the point 7, -1. And then the vertex is at 9, -1. So you can see that the transverse axis is going to be the x-axis. It's parallel to the x-axis. So let's count, see how many A and B and C is. So count forward. So I go 2, A is 2, and then C is 3. Now I know that B squared equals C squared minus A squared from this right here. All right, so I got B squared equals 9 minus 4, so B squared equals 5, so B equals the square root of 5. Okay, so I'll let you finish graphing it, but the equation's pretty easy. So parallel to the x-axis, so x minus 7 squared over a squared, which is 4, minus y plus 1 squared over 5 equals 1. There we go. Because it's b squared, right? And so the square of b will be 5. Pretty easy, yeah? All right, last one. And then I'll skip the last problem and you can figure out, I don't think that's on the homework anymore. And if it is, well, you just use the help me solve it features. All right, so now we're going to do a completing the square again. Oh, completing the square. All right, so first off, I'm going to put all the x's together and all the y's together. And I'm going to move that 225 over to the other side. So the negative 225 is over here. The 90x is with a 9x squared, negative y squared plus 2y. Good. All right, so first off, I'm going to factor out a 9 out of that. I'm going to get x squared plus 10x. I'm going to leave space for my completing the square. I'm going to factor a negative out of that. And I'm going to leave a space for my completing the square. All right, so I'm going to have that. That's going to give me 5, and I'm going to square it. That gives me 25. And since I've added 25, I'm going to subtract 25, so I'm adding 0. I'm going to have that. It's going to give me -1. Square it, going to give me +1. So this is going to give me, so right here, this is the perfect square, x plus 5 squared, which you learned in Algebra 1 in high school. And this one right here is the perfect square, y minus 1 squared, which you learned in high school. All right, so now I'm going to get 9x plus 5 squared, and I'm going to do 9 times -25. It's going to be -225. Okay, so I've got to be careful with your algebra. Now when I bring that -225 over and add it, it's going to kill that. That's nice. So I'm going to be left with -1. Okay, good. So now what I'm going to do, this needs to be 1. So I'm going to divide it by everything by negative, or multiply by negative. Okay, now I need to have that 9 needs to be in the denominator. So that's the same as dividing by 1 over 9. There you have it. So A is 1 and B is 1/3. And then you can go ahead and figure out the major axis is the the transverse axis will be parallel to the y-axis, and the center is 1, -5. So you guys can finish that off, and that is that.